Hello, sixth graders. So today we are going to continue our lesson, and we're going to involve a little bit of independent and dependent variables as well, but we're also going to be identifying different patterns in table sequences. Okay, so let's look at this problem. It says the table below shows how many candles are in different numbers of boxes. Find a pattern that explains the relationship between the values of C, which is number of candles, and the value of B, which is number of boxes. Use words and numbers to describe the pattern. Okay, so the number of candles, okay, in relation to the number of boxes. Yesterday we were talking about independent and dependent variables. Okay, so one of these is going to be the independent variable, one of them is going to be the dependent variable. Which one comes first? How many candles there are, or how many boxes you make from the candles? How many candles there are, so that's the cause, so that's the independent variable. And the dependent variable, what depends on the candles, is how many boxes, okay? If there are 8 candles, there's going to be 2 boxes. If there are 12 candles, there's going to be 3 boxes. So the number of boxes always depends on how many candles there are. If there are 16 candles, there's going to be 4 boxes to fill those candles. Okay, so now we want to understand a pattern between the number of candles and the number of boxes. Okay, what do you notice a pattern between 8 and 2, 12 and 3, 16 and 4? Well, going from 2 to 8, 3 to 12, 4 to 16, the number of candles is always 4 times more than number of boxes. And I'll explain that in a second, because if you look, 2 times 4, it gives you 8. 3 times 4, it gives you 12. 4 times 4, it gives you 16. So the number of boxes B, or number of candles C, is always 4 times more the number of boxes B. So an equation we can write, if B is boxes, we can say 4B, 4 times the number of boxes. We can put a dot there if we want, or we can smush them together. 4 times the number of boxes is going to equal candles. Now it can be said in reverse. Couldn't it be said that the number of boxes is always 4 times less than the number of candles? Which would not be multiplying by 4, but it would be dividing by 4. Okay, so you can say that candles divided by 4 gives you boxes, and that works the same way. 16 divided by 4 gives you 4, 12 divided by 4 gives you 3, 8 divided by 4 gives you 2. Okay, so make sure you have both of these equations written in this box. What is the pattern? And we're going to mainly focus on this. 4B equals C. 4 times the number of boxes gives you the number of candles. So now the question is, how many candles will there be in 10 boxes? Now, if we wanted to, we can continue this table, okay? And we can keep counting 5 boxes, 6 boxes, keep multiplying by 4, but we don't really have to do that because we have this equation. 4 times the number of boxes equals the number of candles. So if we're trying to find 10 boxes or 10B, we can bring up a topic. We can bring up a lesson that we learned in a previous topic, which is called substitution. We can plug in that 10 in for B. Okay, now if we plug in that 10 in for B, remember, it doesn't turn into 410. We're multiplying. So it's 4 times 10, which would give us 40 total candles. All right, so that's really all you're doing today. You're trying to identify the pattern and come up with the equation that goes with that pattern. Okay, and again, all of these tables have an independent variable, which doesn't depend on anything, can stand alone, and a dependent variable, which relies on the independent. Okay, so in this example, the number of boxes depends on how many candles you have. Okay, let's look at the next slide, which is a review of yesterday's lesson, because yesterday's lesson can be a little tricky. Okay, so we talked that the independent variables are the effect. So that's what happens after the fact. Okay, they kind of stand alone. And the dependent variable is what is the cause, or what happens first. Okay, so let's look at identifying what the independent and dependent variables. So the number of earrings, I'm sorry, I mixed that up. Okay, so let's look at this. Let's review. It says independent variables are what stand alone. So the independent variable is the cause. The independent variable is the cause. It stands alone. And the dependent variable is what is affected. So it's the effect. Okay, so the independent variable is the cause. The dependent variable is the effect. Okay, so let's look at this. The number of earrings sold and the money you make. So if you want to do cause and effect for this, what is the cause? What comes first? Earrings sold or money made? Well, the earrings comes first, so that is the cause. So that's independent. The money you make is dependent. Okay, and we can say that in a sentence saying the money you make depends on the number of earrings sold. And that makes sense, because if you only sell one pair of earrings, you don't make a lot of money. But if you sell 5,000 pairs of earrings, you definitely make more money. And the next one, how far you drive, D, and the amount of gas in your car. Okay, now this can be a little interesting, because this might go both ways depending on how you explain it. So what comes first, how far you drive or the amount of gas in your car? Now, this one again, I said can go kind of both ways. Okay, I'm going to go with the fact that the amount of gas in your car is what you're kind of starting with. Okay, so you're starting with a certain amount of gas in your car. Okay, or you can do it the other way and say how far you drive. So let's say if we do how far you drive depends on the amount of gas in your car. Saying it that way could mean how far you drive depends on the amount of gas in your car. Saying it that way could mean that if you have a little amount of gas, you don't drive as far as if you have more gas. Okay? But if you think about it the other way, the amount of gas in your car depends on how far you drive, or how far you can drive. Okay? The amount of gas in your car depends on how far you can drive. This one's a little tricky. All right, that one can kind of go both ways. All right, so attached to this Ed puzzle is going to be a Google form where you're going to find patterns in these problems, in these tables. All right, so make sure you complete that Google form identifying the pattern that you see, and have a wonderful day. Bye, guys.